Hi, Abdi.
Hi,
How are you?
very well. How are
Where
you?
where are you?
I am sitting in my backyard.
In your backyard. It's a beautiful tree behind you.
Yes, I want to make a tree house. Fine.
It's a good idea. I think the boys will love that. It's a perfect tree for it too. I can see all the twisty branches. Okay. So this is our first interview, which is very exciting, and I can't wait to get down to all the details of, what people want to hear from you. Um, so I was thinking today we talk about karma,
Okay.
okay? And so a lot of people have these conditionings of what karma is. And I mean, some people have like a very topical idea of it. Like they think that it's karma is you do something bad in this life, and the next life you kind of get what you did in the last one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know lately I've been feeling that karma is not that anymore. It's something different, but maybe you can describe to us what karma is and how it works.
Well, each of us are energetic body, and an energy always exists, and it just transfers from one to another format. So that's how our soul, that is our energetic body, uh, would continue on its journey and in its existence. So, um, who we are today in this physical body is a part of that soul journey. So, if you look at your the length of your life to the length of your soul, your whole life is like one day of your soul journey. Um, of course, to me, there is no time. However, in a perception of time that we have, the way it works is that our soul at different time uh, take up different physical body and exists and does what it needs to do. And that is our karmic sequences. But the way that
Oh, can you expand on that? What does that mean, karmic sequences?
you see, it's my terminology.
Yeah.
It's you see, we are relating to karma the way that is introduced from Eastern tradition,
Right.
but it's beyond that.
Okay, what does
So,
it mean?
so my explanation is that basically we have different physical format, we have different lifetime as you call, and in this each lifetime follows by another one, and that is the sequence of our lifetime. So it's a sequence of the way what of our karma. So karma to me is not something that you've done something bad or good that you have to get the
Punished.
punishment all of it.
Right.
It's just a sequence. It's like an assembly line that we go from this one to the next one and the next one. So we live our karma. Who we are today, what we do today, how we exist today is based on uh, who we were in the past lives,
Mm-hmm.
and it's following to that. But it's not that we're gonna create a karma. Then if you are a good person this life, we're gonna have a better life next one. There's no such a thing. There's no punishment. It's just that sequence. Basically, each energetic body is evolving for higher frequency each lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So each lifetime is designed for us
Mm-hmm.
to evolve to the level that we need to evolve at the end of the lifetime. And then when we are introduced next time, then we start from there and go to the next one. It's like going to school, grade 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how it is. And there's no punishment and there's no graduation, It's all set as we need to be and as we need to do.
So who sets it?
It's not, it's just the force that moderate, control, centralize everything in the universe. So there's no who, it's how it is. I mean, some people relate to it as God, some people say universal energy, haphazard, whatever, whatever force that make the tree behind me to be a tree, that force.
Yes.
I don't want to name it to to exclude some and include others, but it just that is something that we cannot relate to, we cannot understand, and I don't think we can ever will. So I leave that out.
Okay. So going back to your understanding and your feeling of what karma is, so you say that each life is a sequence. It's a sequence of one, basically. Yes?
Each life is each life is a part of the sequence of our soul journey.
Right. Of the soul journey of a whole.
Yes.
Okay. So, for example, were we ever clear of this karma? Or is karma just part of existing?
Well, I have problem with that word, karma. There's nothing to be clear or whatever, that if you relate to the way the Eastern way define karma, then you can say clear or whatever. You see, there will be a time that our energetic body evolved to a format that doesn't need to take physical body anymore.
Yes.
So, and that is what people call ascension,
Yeah.
When you're ascended to a level that you don't need to take that physical body, but it doesn't mean that if somebody is ascended, they never exist. There will be situation that ascended being exists on a one one scenario basis, and right now the time is a time that many ascended people are back here again.
Okay. And do these ascended people feel the past lives or their future lives?
Well, actually, I shouldn't have. I used the wrong terminology. I said ascended people, and you followed me. Well, the ascended soul, because the people are not ascended.
Right.
Not necessarily. No, some do, some don't.
And so, where does that relation come in to the mind? Like, why do some people remember and some people don't?
Well, it's based on what you are set to experience in this life. You see, some people need to have the memory to exist and experience what they need to experience based on that memory. And some people don't need that. That memory for some people create ego. For some other people create guilt. For some other people create confirmation. For some other people create motivation. For each person, that memory creates something. And for some people create nothing. Well, there's no nothing. They're impacting some way, but they're not reactive of that. So based on what we need, how we need to live, and what we need to believe of ourselves and our situation, each person is being programmed differently, and the programming has nothing to do with the with the energetic being, or where we are at that sequence of our soul.
Okay. So again, going back to the soul's journey, does the soul ever have this place of where they don't have to go through anything that's challenging?
Well, nothing is challenging for the soul, by the way. There is no challenge for the soul.
Well, the mind
Soul
sees it
is
as
just, it's always at ease, and it's on autopilot, and is energetic.
Yes.
Soul doesn't have feeling.
Right.
The way we relate to the energy of the soul is through that feeling on a physical and emotional way.
Right.
So there is no challenge on soul level.
Right. Well,
the challenge that we experience is on a physical body level.
Yeah, and through the mind, yes?
Through the mind and our cell of being, actually. Is because of the shifts that's happening on our energetic body at the soul level. So the only way we can relate to it, those shifts, is through challenges. So if our energetic body having a combustion reaction, that challenge is very deep. If it's the energetic body growing on its path much slower, the challenge is much less. So what we experience a challenge is really is all way of preparation of um, to support and complete. I mean, we can't support it to be a part of it, to complete and be a part of that journey in a physical body. And as more challenge there is to a life, as more understanding come with it, gradually, of course, and as more growth there is in our physical and our energetic body.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm gathering is that karma is really the sensation of what our mind perceives as. So if we go through an experience and our feelings, our emotions, our mind says this experience is negative, right? This is painful to me, right? Our soul doesn't say that, but our minds, our body, our emotions says that.
And what's the question?
So no, I'm just kind
No,
of.
actually, I don't agree with what you said.
Okay, so then tell me. Okay, good. That's why I'm saying that.
As a question that is by itself is not valid to my understanding.
Okay,
because first of all, there is no negative. There is nothing negative.
Right, but some people perceive it as negative.
Yeah, but perception of the mind is what the mind needs to perceive. What could be negative today could be positive tomorrow within the same mind.
Yes.
Because we don't know where our life path is taking us.
Right.
So we don't know the destination, and we don't know which step we have to take to get there. And sometimes the step that we want to see is not the step that takes us there. And when that step that we want to see doesn't happen, and another step that takes us there happens, we think is a negative way, but it's not really.
Right.
So back to your question, I rather withdraw to the word from the word karma, because karma come with the conditionings that our mind is used to a system of format of relation of past and future and our existence. Karma is, you see, every religious setup, not every, most religious setup, have created a right and wrong way of being.
Yes.
And right and wrong way of being is monitored by creating a guilt of being wrong or doing wrong or whatever. And to continue that on more prolonged level, that is not just, and people think, okay, if I'm wrong, if it's bad, I'm gonna, that life is over and it's finished. So what's the worst thing can happen? I mean, it's finished. But it's been continued to future in a Eastern philosophy as a creating that bad karma, and in Western religion, heaven and hell. So basically, is a conditioning has been created for us to behave, and based on that conditioning, we have a mental belief, uh, which is not all true. So when you look at something negative in a mental way, you also look at, well, this is not what you want. Then you go farther back. Oh, maybe you have done something wrong because I have it, because I'm getting this negativity, or this disaster or this challenge. And then you go even farther back. You say, well, probably I've done something in the past life that, you can go farther and farther and farther back to have more guilt and more blame.
Right. Which
Uh,
the soul doesn't relate to.
that's correct. Well, the soul doesn't relate to all these things, but the soul is in charge of us and manages us. And to the soul, this is how we experience, and that is how we need to be, and it's all planned. It's not a random reaction that has to deal with it.
Right. So what you're saying is everything is planned out, even our choices and our experiences.
That's right.
So that takes us to that there is no free will.
That's true too.
Okay. So does that make us like a robot, or what does that mean?
Well, uh, what is a robot? You see, that everything we want to relate to, we want to relate to something that we can understand, but not, when you relate to robot, there's some construction right beside my place that, no, it's too loud. Anyhow, uh, uh,
Well, we could go back to the tree, right? The tree is there and it's present and it's living and it's doing its job, providing shade to you without no choice.
well, it's not just a tree. Exactly what you say is right, but you see, in the universe, every creation are the way they are. I mean, a dog, a tree, everything else. They don't choose anything. There's no choices. I mean, a dog doesn't choose, a cat doesn't choose, and we believe on that. We choose for them. And sometimes even our children, we think, when as a baby or as a child, we choose for them too. And the reason we think they don't have a choice is because we don't believe they have an intelligence, or they don't know better, or as a child, as a baby, they don't have a choice. We think we are in charge because we believe ourselves as um, being in control of everything. And when you are in control of everything, you can control your child, you can control your environment. Uh, I mean, I can go cut this tree, and of course, I think it's my choice because I'm controlling my environment. And I feel I'm in control. Of course, I have a choice of controlling it right or wrong. You see, if we realize there's nothing wrong, then everything happens the way it needs to happen. Then we realize that there is no benefit of that control. I mean, if everything gets what it needs to get,
Right.
why need to be controlled? If the trigger will be caught, so, and in a way, we are more ignorant on a conscious level than other creation, because every creation is connected to its nature, and they act their nature. So a tree acting as its nature as is a tree, dog is a dog, a cat is a cat, and their existence is based on what their nature mandates to exist. When they're hungry, they eat. When they have to do whatever they do, and we are not connected to our nature, so our existence is based on the belief systems, and we try to control and relate and react.
Right. Right. So it's jagged. It's a jagged existence instead of flowing. And
Well, it is our human. That is our nature. You see,
right.
not we are flowing, but within this reality, it is part of our reality to feel that way, to be this way.
Right. So
everything is flowing.
So when people have anxiety, fears, um, any upset, right? That's coming from their control. They think that they can control the situation, and so that gives them the anxiety. But once you relinquish that control and surrender to what is happening, it's happening as it is, and it's perfect, then all of a sudden your anxiety disappears, right? So going back to karma, so people also think that a lot of people, especially like in Eastern, beliefs, they think that if I have to be really good in this lifetime to to let go of that karma. And people have anxieties of that also because of their karma. Like you said, it comes with the guilt and all that stuff. So I guess overall, if you have no choice, then there really is, how could there be karma if there's no choice? Because there's no one judging you from above.
That's right. Well, there is, as I said, there is no, the karmic pattern is just a sequence. It's not creating anything, and there is no judgment. And if you realize there is no choice, of course, to many people, because everybody's conditioned to choose right, as soon as you tell them you have no choice, they get stressed and more upset and thinking that, wow, so, it's, how can I deal with this? But if you go deeper, you realize, actually, it's a good thing not to have a choice.
Yes.
That means you cannot do it wrong.
Right. It's perfect as it is.
And we just exist based on our nature. If we feel like eating, we do. If our mind judging something and we choose something, it's just because our nature communicate to us through that mind. It's not because we can get it wrong. And the wrongness and these choices come from a mind that can compare. Actually, other animals don't have that comparative mind.
Yes.
Because we compare, we want to create a comparison between us and everybody else. Then we create norms, and then we create a system of normal things, and then we try to. For some people, we try to be the norm, and for some people, want to get ahead of the norm, and then we want to make all the right choices as we feel to get there. But we're gonna get where we need to get, and who I am has nothing to do with who you are, and has nothing to do with what whoever everybody else is. And we are individual, and we all have the understanding that we need to have, and based on that understanding, we make decisions that we make to decide. We need to make, but we cannot get it wrong. We are all conditioned to have it, to get where we need to get, and even we are confused of making that right decision. That is also part of our journey. We need to be confused.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we feel we are wrong, that is part of our journey, that we need to feel wrong, guilty, whatever else. You see, that is a human experience, that is our reality, that is our life. And one day, when we realize it, of course, not we are going to realize all together. Each person going to realize a different part of their soul journey and life paths. We don't make a big deal out of this life, and we don't make a big deal of everything else, and we don't fight and hassle with things, and we just observe, and then everything become more joy, and at that level, then we don't need to be. See, as I told you, when there is no energetic growth in our soul level, there won't be a challenge on our physical and emotional body, and there's no need of being on our physical body anymore. That means the soul gets where it needs to get.
Speaking of the physical body, I've heard that your karma is embedded into your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So our DNA is our bloodline, yes? It's what makes us, gives us our body. So they say that there's a strand in our DNA. I believe it was some Hindu teaching. So there is a strand in our DNA that carries on, from your body to body, and your soul is connected to that DNA. What do you think or feel about this?
It is right in a crooked way. Well, I mean, really crooked way, not in a traditional people call things crooked. But because you see, your soul is as I said, is in full control. So your soul creates what it needs to be created on our physical body, and because your soul is continuous, that creation in a new life is a continuation of an old one. So on a physical level, the way we relate to our physics, the DNA have its basic format with some mutations, and that's how we are carried. Of course, each person, I mean, you in this lifetime not necessarily have the DNA as you in your old lifetime, in your past life, but and you could have it too. I mean, there's some DNA just carried because that's how what served. So, in summary, to answer what you asked, is that yes, it's all related. However, our DNA is not the part that mandates everything. Our soul and our energetic body does, and invade what it needs to mandate on a physical level in our DNA. So it's like a program that is created by a soul and put when you are born, physical body through that DNA to run the way we need to run in our lifetime. And also, for some, it's very rare, somebody's DNA can be mutated in the same lifetime by a notch to be a different person.
Okay, and so how does that happen?
Don't ask me how. It's the answer is how, the same way that tree is created, or you and I,
is through energetics.
When somebody totally become a different person in every level, and that something changes, and if somebody doesn't totally become a different person, they just as a shift in a consciousness, there will be some addition or activation in some strength of a DNA. For example, people who are conscious uh, of their connection to nature or spirituality, if you want to call it, they have a different DNA than the people who are not. So the same person who wasn't conscious at the time and now is conscious, something has happened in their DNA, um, and it's happening in everybody's life.
Right. So what happens to the
go to a different level to become different person on a conscious level.
So can we like kind of go into the, because I'm like, I like the details of these kind of constructions, how things work. So how does DNA affect the way you live your life?
Well, that is maybe I don't know. The scientists can answer that. Is a scientific question, but DNA basically is the blueprint of us.
Right.
So it's like a blueprint of if you construct a building, its blueprint mandate how it's gonna develop,
Right.
and that's how we are too.
And function.
So our blueprint is boundaries and limitations that we can follow our life journey. So through our and embedded in our physical being, and those boundaries and limitation is only physical, mental, and emotional limitation which is related to our physical being. There is no limitation on our soul journey and not on energetic being. So
there are limitations based on our DNA. I look at DNA now like a program.
it is.
Right. So it's like a chip in a computer. It's a computer program which creates our limitations, but the soul is limitless and just it just expounded. It's just limitless. But okay, so
you see, I want to create a system of new vocabulary. Limitation come to people as a something negative. Maybe to some people, limitation is a good thing to have or whatever. But basically, limitation is the way that we perceive boundaries. You see, energetic electrons that create energy, they have no boundaries. They exist everywhere all the time. So when you see something, the only reason you can see because of the limitation of how you perceive things. So you can see the tree behind me, and that limitation make you see it.
Right.
If you couldn't concentrate on the limitation of the cellular pattern and being that tree that you could relate to, then they wouldn't see anything. So in our energetic being, there's nothing. So nothing that you can relate to in a physical format.
So our energetic being
not necessarily a bad thing. It's just how things are and how we can relate to. Because if the only way, for example, we are limited to English language right now.
Yeah.
I was speaking different language, we couldn't have this communication. So when we have certain limitation, and that limitation connect to a limitation of something else, we can communicate. And the way we communicate to the tree behind me is that we can see it and we can acknowledge its existence. So, and through that we have this human experience.
So you keep referring to our energetic being, or what do you mean by that?
Soul. Energetic beings are our soul.
Our soul. So does our soul have a name?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Does anything have it? Does a tree have a name?
Some people say they do. Some people who talk to trees, they say they do.
Well,
Isn't a name a
a
frequency?
name is another format of limitation. If a tree was limited to an uh, entity or a creation or some limited being, through that name had to differentiate itself from everything else. But a tree doesn't have that consciousness, so it doesn't need a name. A name comes with a way of classifying something, limiting and classifying something in our mind. There is no name to different rays of energy. Of course, it's, to understand it and relate to it, we call it different frequency, and some of them we see different color. We call all the different colors and what so. But there's, each ray of energy is different than another, and it's not just the colors. It's just much more detailed than the color. So, or a sound. Uh, we just relate to the colors and sound within our understanding limited relation range, and we call it certain things. But this names is been any name is creation of a mind. So a human relate to anything with a name, but other form of creations don't. So you can name anything you want, and if it's important to you, you give it a name. If it's not, you don't care. You don't name a cell of every cell of an ocean because you don't care. But the whole body of ocean, you call it Indian Ocean or Atlantic Ocean because you care about that part. It depends on how far we go to our relation and what's important to us. We separate it and limit it and name it.
Okay. So going back to karma, I think that from this whole understanding, so even the tree can't understand, doesn't have that understanding or that perspective of negative or positive experience. However, there are trees that if you cut one down, the ones next to them die. And they say because they're empathetic.
Well, that is our understanding, or that's the way we need to relate to everything. But if there is an energetic relation, and one dies and the other one doesn't exist anymore, doesn't mean it's a negative experience for either.
Right.
First of all, I mean, the way we look at everything, it's all opposite. You see, we look at everything as a limitation of time, and our existence is limited to this life, and the initiation to this life is a birth, and the end of it is the death. So the birth for us is a way of celebration of existence, and the death is a more of the final. But if you realize that the physical body is only a day of the soul body and journey, one day of that soul life, and there is continuation. And if you realize that when you are at your soul level, that means after you die and before you were born, you are an energetic body and at your highest optimum vibration, and you don't relate to suffering, you don't relate to all this stuff that we relate to. That means when we are in our physical body, we are in our worst part of our journey.
Of our existence?
Well, you can say that existence, but I didn't want to go because existence also is limited to now and beyond that. Anyhow, So if we are in the worst part of it, why is it that we celebrate the birth to entering the worst part, and we are upset that you're leaving of it?
Okay, so why is it?
Humanity
Mhm.
they should do the opposite. You should be upset
Mm.
entering it,
Yeah.
and you should be very happy living from it.
So.
So
Mhm.
that is the way we set our reality. So, well, okay, dying is negative and this is positive, but I would say there's no negative and positive, but I would look at it other way. You see, the best day of my life is the day I die.
Mm.
And I've been saying that, and
So
I'm
why is
happy accepting it.
so why is it so difficult? Why do you say the best day of your life is when you pass, when you go and leave this body? Why is this existence so hard, or what is it that makes it better or worse?
Because of our conditioning, our belief system, that is all
Right.
created from ignorance
So there's
and our
density.
limitations.
Are you saying because of the density?
Density of what?
Because there's limits. Because there's the density creates our limitations. But when you pass,
Yeah.
there's no limitations.
Well, that is a part of it, but the thing is, we are consciously also not advanced. You see, if everybody believe what I believe right now, I'm telling you, even though we don't feel and we see the limitation, if we knew that there is something beyond that limitation, uh, I mean, you can see a tree behind me, but behind the tree could be many other things that you don't see. But if you trust it and you know what's behind it, you weren't just limited to that tree. You could relate to the one behind it. And if we were connecting to the whole journey, well, you could feel that it's not a big deal. It's just one day of this life that is finishing, and nobody cares to have a bad day because they know there is tomorrow. But if you didn't know there is a tomorrow, you care so much about this bad day. And that is the life is set up as that day. Uh, our ignorance of relating to after and before create limitation, and through that limitation, a belief system. But we can be ignorant on that, but also we can be not knowing and not seeing and understanding it must be something else. And when you trust that understanding, even though you cannot see, you cannot touch, you cannot relate to, if you trust that understanding, your way of life is different.
So I have two questions. So first question: when a child is born, are they are they in that state of limitless life, limitless perception? And the second question is, to be limitless, does that mean that you're enlightened?
Okay. When the child is born, is not limitless. The child is still limited. It's between, just before it's born. I mean, if you were to compare your whole life journey, it is the most limitless part of your journey is at your birth. Yes. So, but gradually, it's the energetic and the way of connection to Earth. Earth support us to have this limitation. Earth support the ego, and ego needs limitation and create a different reality. When we are connected in the womb to our mother, we are connected to the earth and also energetically to different realms. So we are kind of between, and as soon as a baby is born, then this is more in this realm. So it's not limitless. However, its limitation is much less than an adult.
Right. So
Because there is a limitation that we relate to, then there is a limitation that we are conditioned by our mind gradually to believe.
Right. So their conditionings are very non-existent, but day by day their conditions deepen. and creates limitations.
But it's the conditions. It's, as I said, in when as a baby has conditioning, but not as much. But gradually become more and more and more. Yes.
Okay. So does it mean that when you let go of these limitations and does that mean that you're enlightened?
Well, I don't know. I mean, people use enlightening with different for different concept. I don't know what enlightening is. I know what it is, but I don't know what is the enlightening that people relate to. To me, there is no enlightened person exists because my understanding of enlightening is not what most people refer to. You see, enlightening to me is when you live with light, in the light, with the energy. Light is that energy that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are that way, you don't need to exist. So basically, if you're enlightened to the level that you are with light all the time, you don't need to have physical body, so you don't exist. Enlightening could happen at the very last uh, lifetime, that it's like a graduation. And enlightening happen when the soul completely become in take over the body, and body become harmony with the soul in complete way. But we do have enlightening experiences in this lifetime that, for a moment, for a certain time, we can connect and we understand and we get download of the light and we are connected to the light. Many people can have that,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't call that an enlightened person.
So
But
who
most
is?
people use that terminology. If you are connected to the light, they say, "Oh, he's an enlightened person." But to me, well, it's not.
Okay, so then who is?
Nobody.
Nobody's enlightened. Have we
But
ever?
enlightened to me is having a being with light, and we are in physics. We are not in light. We are in, we have physical body.
So has there ever been a enlightened person being?
No.
So Buddha, Jesus,
Well,
Moses.
well, they were the last step of the enlightening, and then when they were, I mean, in my terminology, I'm not saying they were enlightened. I mean, to the terminology that people use, of course they were enlightened because they looking at the last step of getting there, and they were enlightened based on that terminology. But according to mine, as long as you exist, you have physical body, and people using the enlightening terminology in a very light way,
Right.
and to me,
It reminds me of when I first went to your session. I didn't even know what some things meant, but I told people I experienced nirvana and I experienced enlightenment. Maybe it felt that way, you know.
well, you can experience enlightenment, you can
Yeah.
experience light, but to be an enlightened person, that means 100% of the time you live with light.
Right,
At least
right.
nobody's like that.
Nobody's like that.
Everybody's human. Everybody, they can, they can be even half of their life in light, and connected to things, and nothing around them exists and whatever. But, they come into their physical format, they create emotions, and from time to time they react based on emotion, they see that limitation, and uh, that's how it is. We are, as long as we are in physics, we are living that limitation, and enlightening 100% an enlightened being does not have a limitation.
I see. That makes sense. So you could have enlightened experiences, but
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're enlightened for the whole time, the 100% of the time.
That means you're not, exactly. You can't.
So you can't be
You're
enlightened.
not an enlightened being. You
Right.
just have an enlightenment experience,
Experience.
and which is what we call, everybody else call, enlightened being, because
Right.
they've touched once. It's like, I let's say, once something, you freeze a vegetable and it was frozen, and you say, and then it's defrosted, then you call them a frozen vegetable, but it's not frozen anymore. It's just we relate to enlightening as an event. I relate to enlightened being as an existence.
Right. So, to kind of wrap this up, so if we have the understanding that we don't have a choice and that everything is happening as it should be, in our minds, in our clarity, we can understand that karma is not what we think it is. It's not a punishment and it's not a reward. It's just a natural occurrence happening to each being. Yes?
Yes. Everything is a natural occurrence happening to each being, and karma is a concept that runs based on our belief system, and some people don't believe on it, and every belief system is a natural occurrence of our life journey.
So there's no karma to burn, there's nothing to get rid of, there's no mantra or meditation or anything to do to get rid of your karma.
100%.
Okay. Thank you, Abdi. Thank you for this conversation.
But I'm just going to mention something.
Okay.
Mantras and meditation can take you away from your limitations, and when you are taken away from that meditation, you are not on a distress stage, or you're not so much into your mind,
Right.
and it make your experience easier.
Right.
And then the way you relate to whatever karma has brought you to the problem that you have now, and
Right.
you don't have that consciousness of a problem as much as you did before, of course those mantra and meditation help.
Right. So it raises your consciousness.
That's right.
Yeah.
It raises the way you interpret everything,
That's
not
right.
raises what happens.
Right. It doesn't clear what happens. It just raises your consciousness so that you can see that whatever's happening is natural.
That's right.
Thank you. That cleared a lot for me, I know, because I had so many questions around this. And I hope that it cleared a lot of questions for others as well.
I hope so too.
Well, have a good day, Abdi.
You too.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Till next time.
Okay, bye.